are 4 lines into page AyinBase 5. The line begins with the word hashmuah. The principle which I keep on emphasizing again and again, and the reason I'm repeating it is because the world experience, world view is obstructing this principal truth. And the obstruction is so powerful that no matter how much you understand, when you go back to the world, you begin to think in exactly the same way again. But when we come to learn this, we have to know before we go in, what are we talking about? He's saying, Torah is something which is rooted and is representative of Atzmus Elikus. Contrary to what may appear that when we learn Torah with the worldly approach, Torah is a directive how one should live in the world in a peaceful and productive manner. How you should learn to control his impulses, etc. So that, and why should he control his impulses? So that people will live in peace and even have a successful life. And we are told, and this is what we are repeating, Torah represents its source, which is Atzmus Ein, and as a result of learning Torah and doing mitzvahs, you actually draw down that element into the world. So that instead of living in the world, you're living in the Elikus, in the simple terms. And the tangible illustration of this concept that we've been using, and it is appropriate, is the home and the furnishings in the home. The home is something which everybody recognizes, the statement of the Gemara, that Odom shein lebayis einay Odom. This defines the human presence in the world, not defines it. It solidifies, it realizes the human presence in the world. Once he has a home, then he goes ahead and furnishes it. These furnishings are not an afterthought. The principle that a human being needs or elicits a home, and without that he's not a human being, includes the principle that a human being has to, in his environment, is human in every respect. Not merely that he's not living in the desert or in the field, and he has a definitive place to be, but everything around him represents a human presence, a human mode of life. So that if one enters a home that is well appointed, what meets the eye immediately, and the reality that you are confronted with, is that this is a human home. Not, oh, this is a nice piece of furniture. And this is what we're learning now. That in order, this is what the Gemara says, and based on the Pasuk, Amo of the Haaretz, also Borcha Batira Tchila, that Birchis HaTorah, prior to learning Torah, this identifies the source of the Torah. And this thing that identifies the source of the Torah, the Atzmos Elokus, is not identifies giving thanks and so forth. It identifies that that what is the Torah represent to me, the Atzmos Elokus. This is Borcha Batira Tchila. I'm learning Torah because I'm connected to Atzmos Elokus. And through Torah, I get to understand and to relate to it. Okay. So this is what we already learned. The 4 lines from the top on base 5. Ubigdei li yes borcha bateiro kanal. And in order to bring up and get into that state of being borcha bateiro, or making a brocha bateiro. In other words, recognizing, when you learn in Torah, recognizing the presence of the source of the Torah. Zehu alidei hagdom azat filo. This is by the preamble, by introduction, and previously engaging in tefillah. We will have a chance to discuss it. The harei iker hanefesh lelakus, and at the bottom there is an appropriate correction. That is a word meaning iker kiruv hanefesh, the principle close, bringing close to the nefesh, le'alakus. He who alidei his boydon who's it filo. It is through the frasen, and as a result of his boydonus of reflection that one has with filo in davening. This is the Iker Kiruv HaNefesh Elokus. When you say Kiruv HaNefesh Elokus, it means a personal closeness to Elokus, not recognizing that there is a creator, that there is a Elokus. Recognizing it intellectually or theoretically or by some kind of proof, that is not Kiruv HaNefesh Elokus. Kiruv HaNefesh Elokus means that in his being a nefesh, his being himself, there is the sense that Elokus is what is the basis, is what gives him a presence. It's Kiruv HaNefesh Elokus. As an example, this is a very common and classic example. Day and night, sunrise and sunset. It is conceivable in being in the world to be totally oblivious to these principles. Day and night is formed by the fact that the sun happens to rise and the sun happens to set. So, who is responsible for day and night? The sun. his bonus bitfilo. Tefillah expresses the truth of the principles of what we are experiencing on a daily basis in the world, and expresses it from the perspective how it is actually affected and representative of Hashem's presence, of the godly presence. This is very important to know. It says, so in Torah it says like this: we have Chochmah and Bina. Chochmah is a primary awareness, a primary connection to the truth. Chochmah goes straight to the truth. But Chochmah goes so much straight to the truth that it is not experienced in the conscious and in the experiential part of the human being. And the classic illustration of this is what the Gemara says, Gan v'apu machtarta rachmon akarye. That a ganav, when he's just about to break through the tunnel into a house, and he's scared that he is endangering himself, what does he do at that time? He prays. Rachmon akarye. He prays that Hashem should secure his entry and he should be successful in his gneva. Doesn't make any sense. And the explanation is, it doesn't have to make sense, because this knowing that Hashem is there is not an experience that he has experienced personally. It's not part of his life. It's part of a truth.
It's business.
Huh?
It's business.
It's not part of his life. And that's why Rachmon Akari. And he doesn't sense the contradiction going to steal, endangering himself, or maybe in response he may endanger the owner of the house. And at the same time, praying for success, praying for God. This is why he is bonus. His bonus is from Bina, that one personally identifies with the godly reality in the world. When we speak in davening about day and night, we speak about the fact that God created the sun and the moon. But we don't speak in terms that God created the sun and the moon. We speak in terms of He created a luminary and brings forth a luminary. In other words, something which directly affects us. This is his bonus bitfil. This brings out the kiru hanefesh l'elokos. Then he actually experiences the godly presence in every aspect of his surroundings, in every aspect of his experience. He will not attribute light to the sun. It's a very important distinction. Attribute light to godly statement. There should be light. Yes, Avraham.
You know that what you just gave example that God, as we daven and we say in feel a luminary, right, which is a seichel statement, which is explaining to us that it affects us. You know, it affects us. This sun is not just a thing over there. It's a luminary that affects us. Right?
Go ahead.
Okay, because the davening basically, I see it set up very poetically. It doesn't sound like a book. It has a lot of like this here. You know, it's a learning material, right? In davening, you have like so much drama going on there. I want to know like what is I mean, it's from a left field question, I know, but I mean.
This guy is protesting.
Okay, so say, okay, don't bother then. I'll ask you later.
Even this, right? Well, logically, it's not true. When we read these words, we read it with sing-song. What is sing-song about?
Like it's a highest, it's a living thing, right?
Yeah. You're learning it with your nefesh.
Not a textbook, it's not a textbook.
Learning with your nefesh.
Yet davening is more. You know what I mean, right? I mean, it's still very different. It's much more than in davening of the emotion.
But okay.
Okay.
I answered you, and you insist on being a question. Davening, the principle of the poetic form of davening is not to excite you by poetry, but by the touching the nefesh. That is the way the nefesh thinks.
Thank you. I appreciate it. No, I hear you.
Therefore, when his nefesh comes close to Elokus in davening, then afterwards, here the word bitfila it should be substituted by Torah. Then after tefillah by Torah, when he learns Torah, he remembers the Elokus that he has come into close proximity in davening. V'roye es Baal hashmuah, and he actually sees the Baal hashmuah. Roye, of course, in his mind's eye, he sees the Baal hashmuah, the author and the source of this Torah statement. And as we explained, Torah fits with a godly world, not with a worldly world. And therefore that's about Baal hashmuah. What you learn in Torah makes sense only if you know there is a creator. And you relate to the creator.
So here Baal hashmuah means Eibus, right?
Yeah, that's what I said.
How does it work with the pshat of this quote, where it's it says that where it comes from when in Gemara it says that when you learn, it's supposed to be like one who spoke this verse, like stands.
Yeah, you
right
were
there.
absent a couple of days. That's
I was out. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay, you're there.
This
okay.
is
I
this
should
is
look it up.
This is
Okay.
exactly what we learned. This
Okay,
is
good.
Baal hashmuah. Kilo meaning, and you have to have the Baal hashmuah, or the source of the Torah, and that's when your learning Torah will be accurate, and will have substance. We explained a very simple.
Right here, this is here.
What?
Right here.
Yeah. All this.
I'm asking how does it fit with the original statement where it talks about Baal hashmuah like Baal HaMaimer. That the Gemara says that when you learn a Maimer, like from a Chocham, it has to be like a.
As we said, it's all here.
It's all here. Okay.
So we pointed out a very simple Mishnah in Niglu the Torah. It says, Shnayim oichas in betali, two people are experiencing holding onto a garment, and they come to Beis, This one says, I found it, this one says, I found it. And the Beis has to adjudicate between them and gives out a judgment that they should divide it, and they should each come from it with an oath, with a hashmuah, and the hashmuah, the Gemara says, is an extraneous thing. The hashmuah is not what divides it between them. The division between them is due to the fact that they were both holding the garment and that claim that is what I found. So we explained what is this adjudication about. How is the fact that they're holding it and claiming proof that this is theirs? In a worldly arena. On what basis is the Beis divided? If you say you don't need proof, the Beis has no choice but to divide it between them, then that's not a halacha. They're fighting it out, and the Beis says, okay, fight it out this way. This is like a compromise. Halacha means that this is the way it is in true in Torah. So we explained that the only way to understand it is that the whole principle of ownership begins from Torah. Torah is what provides the right and the ability to own anything. Because the world is a godly creation, and God still owns it, and God holds it, and God gave it to the human being, and He gave the human being the ability to own worldly objects and worldly possessions. Therefore, this adjudication comes. Is able to adjudicate. Torah says this is yours, and Torah says this is yours. Otherwise, we come from a worldly perspective and they're fighting and you have to win the fight by any kind of extraneous proof. It doesn't happen over here. So the only way to understand this very simple Mishnah is to recognize the Baal hashmuah right there. Who says that this belongs to that be divided? Hashem says it should divide. Hashem has the authority to say so because the world is His. And He says, okay, I'm giving this to you and you to you. That is basically what is taking place there.
So the Mishnah is substantiating itself.
Yeah, the Mishnah is representing, it's saying the Baal hashmuah is there and he says, do this. This is what the whole Torah is representing. And if you take the Baal hashmuah out, you can't make sense of it. What does the Chachamim do over here?
And the Torah has the power to make such a decision because it has the power to make such a decision.
Because what?
He's saying it takes the power from itself. He's saying the Torah...
Takes the power from the Baal hashmuah.
Right.
The Torah represents the Baal hashmuah. Roy's Baal hashmuah, and this is how you come to see Baal hashmuah, by the preparation that takes place in Tefillah. Yisbonus b'Tefillah. Zehu she'omro Razal. Zehu she'omro Razal. This is the significance, this is the implication, what Chazal say. Kol ha'oimer ein li elo Torah, hare gam ha'Torah ein loi. One who says, I'm not interested in anything. I only have one source, and I only relate to one thing, Torah. You would say Torah is tremendous. This is Dvar Hashem. However, if only Torah, gam Torah ein loi, then he doesn't have Torah either. Torah by itself, you have nothing. Gam Torah ein loi. Why? The belay tefillah, because without tefillah harei shoicheach al ha'elokus. He will forget on elokus be'ez hesik ha'Torah. And he's engaging in Torah. He's learning Torah. Like I said, Shnai Mechizim Betalis. And what is he involved in? The dispute between two human beings. And your mind tends automatically to, how do you keep peace over here without them getting into a fight? Completely a different venue than what you're learning in Torah. And then as a result, Ein Shmo'is of Mekuvonis. If he forgets on the Lakus, basic Atira, then Shmo'isov. Shmo'isov means the statement that he's learning are not Mekuvonis, are not correctly focused. Umikol Shekein, and for sure, Sheina Mamshi Bechinas Atzmut Chachom. That by his learning he doesn't bring forth, he does not relate to Atzmut HaChochma, to the Etzem HaChochma, only to the Ha'ora, the effect of the Chochma. Okay, this is it for this morning. And we shall meet Mitchell tonight. As far as Thursday night is concerned, we had a very, very poor showing, and I'd like to kind of rejuvenate. Are we having this class or are we not having a class?